Well, hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the My Love of Golf podcast. It's Roscoe here, your host, and thank you for joining in this year. It's the week of Christmas and I hope you get the time to reflect on the year that was and look forward to the year ahead, 2021, as we all are. Enjoy the holiday season, enjoy the time with your families, friends and loved ones. Value that, and I look forward to spending more time in your ears next year as we bring you more My Love of Golf content. Today's episode is with a very good friend of mine and someone from my formative years as a junior golfer up there in Cessnock at the Jack Newton Sub-Junior Classic. Yes, it's the one and only Gabriel HJERTSTEDT. If that name doesn't come top of mind for you, Gabriel was actually Sweden's first ever winner on the PGA Tour. Yes, a two-time PGA Tour winner. What a privilege to have Gabriel on the My Love of Golf podcast today. Great guy. In America now, has been for a number of years since his time on the PGA Tour came to an end, and I really do think that you'll get a lot out of this episode. A little bit of blast from my past, but certainly someone who you would have heard of, you may have heard of, and you'll definitely hear more of in the future as he looks towards moving into the Seniors Tour. Enjoy this episode with Gabriel HJERTSTEDT, a very, very good friend of mine. It was great to get his time. The audio in this, he was in his car driving around to LA. You might hear some barking dogs. They were my dogs wanting to be fed. But nonetheless, you take these opportunities when they present. And it was great to get 45 minutes or an hour or so with Gabriel talking about his world, a little bit of PGA Tour time, but more so his world now as a coach, and some real value in here for those of you that have young golfers in your life, young kids that might be looking to get into golf, and if you're a parent supporting them, some insights from Gabriel's world as a coach over there, working with some fine up-and-coming young talent, and also some high-level golfers as well. So enjoy this episode with Gabriel HJERTSTEDT. As I said, Sweden's first ever PGA Tour winner and a two-time winner on the PGA Tour. Our first PGA Tour winner on the My Love of Golf podcast. Thanks for listening. Might hear from me again before the end of the year. Maybe we might try and get rocking and have a little bit of a 2020 wrap. Jump over, subscribe, do all of that wonderful stuff that really helps the podcast. That'd be a lovely Christmas present from you to leave me a review, leave me a message, leave Rocket a message. But anyways, enjoy the holiday season. And I look forward to seeing you again on the My Love of Golf podcast. Thanks for listening.
It's one of those things. It's like I drive a manual. Not a lot of people drive manuals, but it's like, and I've hit a blade. I like hitting a blade. It's like, it's going to be a little bit challenging, So it's like everything today is just made easier and easier. And I think we lose a lot of skills, So it's like, it's interesting. I mean, we obviously pick up new skills, but there's certain skills that are kind of fun, A lot of people, you throw the keys to someone and they go, oh, I can't do this.
Gabriel HJERTSTEDT, all the way in Los Angeles, California right now. Welcome to the My Love of Golf podcast. Young man, it's been a long time between drinks, so to speak, for you and I, but it's great to finally catch up with you and get the chance to chat to you. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me on.
It's my pleasure. It's been great to follow your journey. Basically, since I think we just spoke then, the last time we would have chatted or spoke or been together was about 30 plus years ago. So it's been a real honour to have known you all that time ago and then followed your journey in a wide and varied path, all in the golf space over that time. And it's been, a real honour for me to be able to follow it. So, Gabriel, you find yourself in LA right now. Tell us, what's keeping you busy now, mate?
Yeah, so I teach golf. I'm still like, being on the golf course. I feel like, the teaching part, I don't know, I never really thought that I was going to be a coach, but I enjoy it. I think there's a lot of things I could have done when I stopped playing, but I like being on the golf course. I like being busy. That's one of the main things. It's like the same thing back in the day. I used to love practicing. 10-hour, 12-hour day was okay for me because I really enjoyed being busy. And, teaching the game to really broad spectrum of players. You take anyone from a beginner to a professional PGA Tour player. it's kind of fun, you know. It takes it's a certain way you sort of look at someone and you sort of figure out how you can help them without saying too much. And I think that's the key in being a successful coach now is, you know, you want to get across information without making them confused.
When did it dawn on you that you wanted to take your post PGA Tour career into the coaching space? When did you realise that you had this, you know, gift? And I think everyone who coaches on every level, whether it be golf, personal, business, has a gift. When did you realise that that was going to be your thing, mate?
I kind of just fell into it. It was like, you know, because I was injured at the time when I stopped playing. I figured I got to do something while I'm trying to heal up. So I started coaching a little bit, and you know, 2 surgeries later and 7 years later, I was still teaching. So, you know, now I've been going at it for maybe 10 years or so. But and it's an interesting clientele, you know. That's the part that's fun to me is the stimulus that I get from some of my clients that I hang out with and get to share some of their experiences too.
So from what I gather, some of your clients that you're mentioning there, you know, you've got some future stars on the books, you know, some young guys and girls that I see kicking about. You've got some people that, you know, play the golf professionally, some PGA Tour guys, a couple of young ladies on the tour as well. I love seeing all these people just pop up into your world of coaching. But is short game your specialty, or you coach on everything, but you really do focus on short game with your high end clients, your more skilled clients, I guess, so to speak?
Yeah, so the tour play is mainly a lot of short game because I feel like most of those guys have swing coaches already. So I come in as I would call a team member and, kind of work on the little short game and stuff like that. But then, I teach the full game for all the young kids that I work with. And really, it's a broad spectrum.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with getting confidence into these kids to understand that they can really do it, Because what happens, all the kids start at different ages. So you have a kid that maybe started 8 years old, and then you have a kid that starts at 11. It's a big difference between them in their game, but you realize if they work hard between 12 to 17, they can catch up. So that's the part that you got to instill in some of these kids, because they go out and play with someone else and they just really kind of come close to competing. But at that early age, it doesn't matter that much if they're willing to work at it.
Talking about kids and continuing on there for a second, do you find you have to spend maybe not as much time, but some time coaching the parents as well of the young kids, or do you have to give advice to the parents to say, we're on this journey, this is where we're going, and your role in this is whatever? Is that some part of it?
Yeah, most definitely. So what's interesting with that is, and this is, I kind of look at it different. So a lot of coaches will tell their parents, listen, I don't want you around when I'm coaching your kid, I look at it as like the parents as a team member, and I don't mind them being around because I know they're the people that are going to, drive them around everywhere or take them to tournaments and stuff. So, and what I have the parents do a lot of the time is take videos while the kids are playing, and send it to me so I can sort of see what's going on. And, I think creating that, bond between, both parties, because it is a team sport for the parents. I mean, the way they, take them around everywhere, and, drive them backwards and forwards. So I feel like, and then also, when they're around, I can talk to them how they really should approach certain things with their kids. I can see how they try to coach their kids sometimes, and I'll just tell them, listen, I'm the coach, you're the parents, but this is what you can do. This will be your role on the golf course to help us, So there's little things like that I know a lot of other coaches say, listen, just want the parents out of there. I know they're going to be together all the time traveling, so I just make them a part of the
team. What would you, if there's someone listening to you and I chat here and they've got a young kid that might have a little set of golf clubs or one club or something that they knock a plastic ball or wiffle ball around the backyard or something, but they might show some potential, they might want to get into golf. What would you say to a parent who has a young kid that hasn't really embarked on his journey of golf? What would you say? Just do this, or just don't do this, or whatever?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is, and this is the most difficult part, I would say, out of any of this, is finding a club where they have some kids, you know? So, I mean, it's like you want to have the golf club as the playground, and whether you're a beginner or whatever, but if you have an atmosphere at a club where there's 5, 10 or 15 kids or 20 kids, they can actually pal around and practice, that's when you start seeing results, you know? So that's the hard part to find. And I see a lot of times here in the U.S., it's, you know, you got a lot of private clubs, expensive clubs, so it's difficult to get that sort of environment. Like I had a Coolangatta at Tweed Heads where, you know, membership, this is going back a long time, but still the membership was $50 a year. Anyone could hang out, and became a playground. So I think any time that you create a playground for young kids, that's when you see results, because they practice more. You know, they want to be on the golf course more. So the perfect scenario would be a nice club with a lot of kids, and you're going to produce good golfers.
Yeah, look, it's exactly that. And you mentioned that playground type environment that you grew up in at Coolangatta Tweed. It's certainly, and we'll talk about, you know, back in the day in a little bit, but certainly it was like a playground, babysitting / playground / you know, whatever way you want to call it, where I grew up playing golf. So I agree. And it's a rare club, I think, these days that can engender and embrace that type of concept and let kids from members and non-members come down and do that. But you know, if there is anyone listening from Clubland who tunes into this podcast, you know, that's, you know, you've heard it from one of the best golfers that I know, and certainly one of the best coaches getting around in the States. So there it is from him. Now, mate, what about the tour guys and the elite guys that you're working with? Who, if you can say, you know, who are you currently engaging with or chatting to on a coaching level?
Right now I've only got one guy, so Kramer Hickok. He's he's his second year out on tour. We do a little bit of work together, but I really try to shut that down a little bit.
Yep.
My goal is to get my game ready and maybe start playing here a little bit again in about 18 months. So I'm trying to focus a little bit on, you know, doing what I'm doing and starting to practice a little bit more. So, but, you know, I enjoyed working with a lot of the guys. The hard part for me was getting back out on tour and working with them there where, you know, you played for so many years. You want to get back out and playing, you know, once you see that environment. Yeah. So, but, you know, with several years there, I had like, you know, 6, 7 guys that I've worked with consistently. And, you know, it's challenging. You're working with these, you know, top world-class tour players. You know, they all want the lesson at the same time of day. So you got to boss them around a little bit. But, you know, to me, and the people that get to play it often, I mean, and I think that, you know, you travel around the world and play golf. I mean, you could stay in Australia and really play the best golf courses in the world, as you know. But, you know, it's an interesting game. It's you meet a lot of people, and it's such a difficult game that, you know, unless you've done it your whole life, you're never really going to be great at it.
So you mentioned there in 18 months' time. So I just had a birthday yesterday, and I'm if I was a tour player, I'd be a year away from playing on the seniors tour. So I guess that's what you're talking about, because I think we're both 71 guys. So
yeah, exactly. So, and I feel like what I need to be doing is, you know, what I want to do, what I'd like to do would be, you know, to get my game halfway ready now for the fall season and start doing some Monday qualifiers and competing a little bit more. And just see where it's at. You know, I've got my clubhead speed is great. I've still got, you know, I'm pretty much average 118 miles an hour. I can bring it up over 120 still, which is, you know,
it's above the normal tour average, is it not? It's about
it is. I don't really get hit by any of the tour guys. I think if you can bring that sort of speed onto the senior tour, and you know, the difference is you don't forget how to compete. But when you haven't competed in a while, you get a little jittery, and those are the things that you got to get out before you get, you know, tournament tough. That's all it is.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I love hearing that's the part of the plan. That gives me even more reason to follow along. and I can't wait. I reckon, so part of that speed that you're generating, one of the things that I'd love to get my hands on, and I don't know if you shipped them down to Australia or if you have shipped any down here, your speed trainer. Talk to me about the speed trainer, the Gabe Golf speed trainer.
Yeah, so actually I got lucky with a little invention that I came up with, and I created this speed pipe. It's a first year production, but it actually you gain crazy amounts of speed. I got tour guys getting 2 miles to 3 miles an hour in the first 10 minutes. So it's and I use that. So I mean, to me, I do my workouts, and I look at you got to obviously have a strong body to slow the club down. But work out, stay strong. But then it's all about the speed training. There's a lot of stuff out there, and it's really about doing bursts, maybe 5, 6, 7 swings. And a lot of people try to swing a lot of swings to get fast, but and I'll show you that. I should send you one of those speed pipes so you can try it out. But it's really about just connecting your brain to your muscles to go faster. Yeah. And that's it. There's no other secret. And as a young kid, I mean, as Charlie Oak was my coach, and he said, hit it as hard as you can. And that's going back 30 years ago. And I think a lot of Australian kids had that mentality because it's Greg Norman, so they learned to really pound it. And I mean, that is probably the best lesson I've ever had, because I always hit a long way, and it's a huge advantage.
Yeah, speed. If you've got the ability, swing ability, speed's always going to be a friend. Absolutely. Yeah, I like. Yeah. I can't wait to try it, and hopefully we can work out that I can get one. But just what you're saying there, and just the sequencing of the swing. There are a number of speed trainers out there, but the fact that with yours, that you can get it to the top, load up, and then release, and the sequencing is, the key. And then obviously the power then comes with that, and you can hit the ball. It's a club that you actually hit the ball with. So, there's no more connection that you need as being able to sequence it and hit the thing. And the new one is a little different because I've got an adjustable resistor on it. So it's actually a pipe. That's, right.
Almost it's 43 inches. Yeah. And it's a pipe, and it throws down a ball bearing down the shaft. So it's pretty. It actually works really, really good. So,
yeah, good.
But back in the day when we were kids, I mean, I had driving comps with everyone. So that was, and I remember a lot of other kids around the world that we play with. They might have had coaches that say swing it smooth because that's the way it should be. Those guys couldn't play professional golf. They could play amateur golf, but they couldn't play professional golf because they weren't long enough.
So, mate, let's talk about back in the day. So you mentioned Coolangatta Tweed Heads is where you learnt your craft as a young junior golfer, but you're Swedish. You're not Australian. What do you remember of the time when your parents said, "That's it, gang. We're off to Australia"?
It was probably the most unique experience anyone could ever have. My parents said they picked up and left and went down to Australia. So, they just pretty much just threw us into school. You didn't know any English, but you figured it out after a few weeks, And, it was a very unique experience because you take a kid, a 10-year-old kid, only language he's got is Swedish, and all of a sudden you put him in a school with an environment that's totally different. And, you think about completely different sports, different rules, everything. So it was pretty crazy for the brain, I think, to adapt to what's going on. And I remember back in the day, we had a headmaster. He'd walk around with a cane, and if someone was out of line, they'd smack him with a cane. And I mean, that would never have been allowed in Sweden. So, but I think it was good.
So that was in Benora Point, and you wouldn't have looked out of place in Benora Point, with the blonde hair in amongst the surfers, but certainly as you just described then, not speaking the language and being from another part of the world, which back in the day, not many guys from Benora Point would have been experienced enough to have travelled to Sweden or out of out of the environment, basically. So it would have been amazing. You started playing golf at what age?
Yeah, at 10 when I came to Australia. I played a little bit in Sweden. And, at 10 years old when I came to Australia, I started playing a lot more. And, and even the first shot I ever hit, I really felt like, felt good, Yeah. And I wanted to just do it more and more and more.
And you mentioned that playground that Coolangatta Tweed had, and I think they were back in the day. They were quite well regarded and well known for their junior contingent, and they produced a lot of talent in that area. Where we met, do you remember those days? You guys coming down to the Hunter Valley and playing in those Jack Newton.
No, I know. I used to love that Jack Newton. I was always. That was tough golf, in the beginning as kids. You think about it, because we were pretty young and playing a real golf course, like a long, nice golf course. And
having to come down and stay with people that you didn't know, that's how we got to know you. I think you stayed with us for a couple of years.
No, exactly.
And
exactly.
Putting up with my parents and their weird Scottish accents, and do you remember?
But all that is unique. It's like you look at it like, but if you realize what was going on in that environment and that how it produced so many good players, when you think about it. So how could that have happened? You got in Australia, a small population, not very many golfers really in our era. When you think about it, wasn't that many players, but a lot of people got out around the world and play at tours and stuff. And I think it was just 1, good weather, 2, good golf courses, 3, great competition. That's all it was. And decent coaching, So you had those, plus you had someone, Greg Norman, that everyone went, wow, he could do it, so we could probably do it. So you had someone that had done it. So all of a sudden you created this belief in all these kids and a competitive environment. That's how it happened,
My memories of those tournaments, I was not as good as you guys. Who were some of the contemporaries that we were playing with around then? There was you, Mark Hensby was the other sort of most notable around that time.
Exactly.
I think what I remember, you and he had quite a strong rivalry around that time. He was from New South Wales. You were from Queensland, representing Queensland. There was a pretty healthy rivalry there. Any other names that come to mind there? My memory.
So Robert Allenby and Stuart Appleby. They were a little different. We didn't play that much junior golf for them. But you had Shane Tate. Like Shane Tate, Marty Roberts. But you had Shane Tate was like at 14. I remember playing with him. I was like a year younger than him, or maybe 6 months younger than him. He was out driving me about 90 yards, almost 100 yards every time we played. And I'm just thinking, how am I ever going to beat this guy? And you're just like, how is it even possible? And, I think what happened to a kid like that, he was like, you'd always look at top of the leaderboard, Shane Tate was there, That was like a given. But I think he was not in the correct environment, to really, if someone would have taken him and taken him to the US at 15, it would have been a totally different deal. So I think I've never seen anyone with that much talent. It was incredible.
Well, another product of the Flanagan family household, I can tell you a funny story. It was not a funny story, but a story when I realised that I wasn't cut out for golf at the level that you guys were. And Shane was staying with us. And
really,
he stayed the 2 years before you stayed with us, and we only had a small house and all of that sort of thing. And I think we shared, the fold-out bed would come out into my room.
Exactly.
We'd share the room. Now I got up one morning, I can't remember what time it was, but it came out. Mum was already making Shane his breakfast. He was dressed in his golf gear. Remember back in the day it was long socks and his red Queensland vest. And I sit down and have the toast and whatever else Mum would make. And I said, right, we'll go and hit some balls in half an hour. It's maybe like 8 o'clock in the morning. He says, I've already been.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And I turn around and look at my mum. Did you drive Shane up to the golf course? And he walked up. He walked up. It was only like 3 or 4 Ks. For me, back in the day as a kid, it was a mile. But he had walked up at 5 a.m., hit 100 balls, picked them up, walked back home, was there ready to go. So that's when I realised. I thought, this probably isn't my thing.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I mean, because I really thought even at 15, 16, I always looked at him and said, this guy's going to win majors, Yeah, he was a
brute. He was a brute. It's different up there now, mate. You haven't been. I'm not sure when's the last time you were in Coolangatta, let alone the Hunter Valley, but it is different up there. Yeah. The old golf course that we played as juniors in that tournament is no longer. It's still, the course is still there, but it's been redeveloped. It's actually closed at the moment. It'll reopen at some stage, but it's all a bit different, and sadly the amount of juniors playing golf up there is certainly a different amount of juniors as well. So, but I was just about to say, the last time that I think we ever spoke, I was starting my first ever job, and I drove you in my mum's Corona down the freeway from Cessnock to Sydney and dropped you off, I think, in King's Cross, bundled you out of the car with your golf bag and your suitcase, and you took a taxi from King's Cross down to the airport, and I turned left and went to my first ever day of my ever adult life job. So I think it was the last time we ever saw that, and I don't know if you remember that maroon Toyota Corona and me driving down to Sydney for the first ever time, but I think that was the last time. There you go.
Yeah. That's crazy. Time flies. We're only here for a short time.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So you've got to make the most of it.
But I look at like junior golf. I think it's sad, but there's too many options now for kids. That's what it is. We didn't have any options. It was like, you know what? Either go to the golf course or do nothing.
Yeah. How supportive were your parents? I think I obviously know the answer, but I want you to describe it. And I remember your dad, Stieg, having a chat with my dad, and I think when my dad realised that I wasn't cut out to play golf at professional level was when Stieg turned to my dad, and I think Dad said to your dad, "What's Gabriel going to do when he finishes school?" Because we were getting to that age, and in his Swedish English accent, he says, he works for me on the golf course. And it was that sort of concept, but it was very clearly what he meant was, you're going to focus on your golf and get the most out of it. And my dad looked at me and he said, "You ain't doing that, kiddo." So,
no, exactly. And then that was crazy. I mean, I left school at 16. I mean, I just don't. And all I said was, drop me off at first light and don't pick me up until it's dark.
Yeah,
and I did that for 2 years. Yeah. Every day, and was no plan B for me.
Yeah.
It was plan A.
Yep.
But, it was people said, even when I turned pro, I mean, my dad said, you should probably get a bar job and, so you can support yourself a little bit. And I was like, I was so focused on making it that, I don't know, it just happened, And listen, it was up and downs. It's been up and downs the whole time. Did I have the career that I thought I was going to have? No, I wanted to do a lot better. That injuries and other stuff, come in. It's like, I felt like I left a lot on the table because of injuries. But you know what? You just make the best of it, and it's not over yet for me. That's what
I'm pumped. I'm pumped to hear that you've got plans because I think you do really well out there, mate. Back.
Yeah.
Your first big win. What was your first big as a amateur? Was it the Doug Sanders?
Yeah.
Was it the Doug Sanders?
Yeah, it was the Doug. Yeah, it was the Doug Sanders. I won the European Boys that same year, and then the Doug Sanders, and it just gave me a little bit of confidence. And then from there, winning the Eisenhower Trophy was. It was fun to be in a team event. And I remember right after that Eisenhower Trophy, I made up my mind that I was going to turn pro. And I remember going to Charlie Earp because I was really nervous about turning pro. I was 18, just 6 weeks before my 19th birthday. And I remember going to Charlie and I said, "Charlie, I'm going to turn pro." And he looks at me and he goes, "You know why they make money flat?" And I said, "No, so you can stack it." But what was interesting about that was because a lot of coaches might have said, "Listen, it's too early for you to go," that he made me believe that I could do it.
Yeah.
You know, those words right there, I was like, good, I'm going. So, that, you know, it's interesting stuff like that, because that's when you need good people around you to make you believe. I mean, obviously you got a vision, but so many times when you have a vision, people will say something or steer you in other directions.
Yeah.
You know, and I think he was amazing at that, to make you believe they can do it. You know.
So, mate,
So
life on tour, a couple of wins on tour. What was, if you reflect on your 2 tour wins and the first Swedish player to win on the PGA Tour?
yeah.
What was?
You know.
So go on.
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird. The whole experience was really weird, because you know, it was my last event before tour school, and you know, I actually had 2 events left my first season. I was playing shitty the whole season. So, and I had 2 events left. I was tired, so I took my wife, my girlfriend at the time. We said, let's go to Spain. So we went to Spain for a week, and pretty much just chilled out. I played 18 holes of golf every day with a friend, and just relaxed. And then I came back the next week, and yeah, it was just weird, you know. Played terrible the first 6 holes of the BC Open. I was playing so bad, and I looked over at my playing opponents, Sean Murphy. I actually ran into him the other day. He's 2 under par through 7 holes or 8 holes, and I'm like 2 over par. And I just said to my brother, I said, how the hell can this guy be beating me right now? And that's when the trigger something went off in my head, started making birdies, and then just went, you know. But it was like something made me so mad that I actually manned up and started playing some golf, you know. And who knows?
Yeah.
You know, this game is crazy, because if you think you have it, you probably haven't. And sometimes you don't think you have it, and all of a sudden it shines. So it's like it's a weird, you know. It's like you try your best all the time. You know, I get this a lot with the parents watching the juniors, and he says, you know, my kid just hit it out of bounds. I said, do you really think you stood up on that tee and said, I'm going to piss my mom and dad off, I'm going to hit this one out of bounds purposely? And they go, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
go on.
It's interesting still. Yeah, stuff like that is, you know, you're not trying to do something bad.
And what about your other win, mate, at the Touchstone in Tucson? So that tournament, I think, is no longer turned eventually into the WGC at Centre Match Play, but it was a pretty significant tournament back in the day. I think did they give out a special trophy? Is it like a helmet or something like that? I can't remember, but
yeah, you know what? I think actually what's interesting, both the BC Open and the Tucson Open has been turned into senior events on the same golf course. So I'll just have to go and repeat when I get out there.
I love it.
But I think Tucson, I was hitting the ball unreal that week. I finished 53rd in putting, and I won the tournament. You know, it's like I just flushed it all week. And, you know, I knew I was playing well before I got there. Even though I'd missed the cut twice in 2 events coming in. And it's just a golf course that fit my eye. You know, I felt good around that golf course. I still screwed it up on the last hole in regulation. I 3-putted from 9 feet, but you know, I was nervous. But then in the playoff, I hold a 30-35 footer for the win. But what's interesting about golf, the golf courses, I like on number 18 at that Tucson National, I hit a driver 2-iron. Okay, when we played there, I went there like a couple of years ago and played with the new equipment. I mean, driving 9-iron.
Yeah, wow.
You know, it's just out of control. Difference.
Wow. When was the last time you bumped into Tommy Armour, who you beat in the playoff?
Yeah, I saw him in Vegas about 4 months ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was funny. I was sitting in a restaurant and he was in there. And, you know, he was, I see him around every now and again. You know, and that was a weird deal. I mean, I get to the playoff hole and he wouldn't shake my hand on the first playoff hole. You know, I put my hand out, and he just looked at me and turned his back. So, which worked against him because it fueled me. I went from being nervous to super angry.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting how it's hard to be angry and scared at the same time. So I'd rather play angry.
Now, do you believe that you were, started and paved the way for the growth of golf at the professional level, at the tour level for the Swedes? You were definitely part of that. How do you see that?
I think a little bit. I think Jesper Panik was always, the lead player there. I feel like I probably dragged along a few young guys, and it was Jesper the same year that I won. He'd finished second or third several times, so he was close to breaking through. But I think once I got a win there, it sort of snowballed. A lot of people felt like it was doable, And it's like the same thing as you watched, us as juniors watching Greg Norman come out of Queensland, Australia, and becoming number one player in the world. You just see, listen, if they can do it, we can do it,
Yeah.
And that's really what happens to a lot of golfers. They might have a buddy that they're playing golf with all the time, and they might get beat, or they might beat him at home, and all of a sudden he's playing the tour, and they say, you know what, I can play the tour as well. I'm that good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, certainly, using your example there of Greg Norman, he was an inspiration to all of us. But, I remember back in that day, the golfers coming out of Queensland were, as you say, and reflect on Shane Tate, but there was a number of other Queenslanders around that time that were just next level, boys and girls. They were playing in a different game to a lot of us. So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And what about just talking about golfers that you've come across with? Have you got any interesting stories? Like you would have played around with all of the people that we hold in the highest regard. There's some great pictures of you and Tiger on the tee together, and so on and so forth. Who stands out, or who are the guys that you like to, or that you still keep in contact with?
I don't really keep in contact with a lot of people, but there's a lot of people I enjoy playing with. I love playing with Greg Norman. I got to play with him quite a few times. Nick Price, another great guy. Played a lot with Sergio. I like playing with him. Tiger is obviously amazing to play with because you're nervous.
Yeah.
You're a little bit more jacked up than what you normally would be playing golf with him. And, you got the big crowds and stuff like that. So I think, there's a lot of nice guys out here actually on tour. I think what you end up finding is, because it's such a humbling game, that, you got a few little guys out there that might be a little mean to rookies and stuff when they come in, but most of the guys are so humbled that, they tend to root for you more so than root against you,
Yeah.
And you look at the guys that last a long time. I mean, it's pretty amazing, some of these guys that play, they're out there for 30 years playing professional golf. I mean, it's very few people are able to do that, and it's, it's a lot of factors.
Yeah.
But, and you watch the golf swings that last a long time too, and it'll be interesting to see if the game changes with people just swinging harder and harder and harder, shorter careers, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Well, we won't jump down that rabbit hole because we'll run out of time. But certainly if you look at what Bryson's doing and all that, and there's so many schools of thoughts and takes on what he's doing, where he's going with that, absolutely. Mate, was it last year or the year before, you were lucky enough to, from what I saw, travel down to Australia and play a fair bit of golf in a fairly quick succession of time.
Yeah.
What did you think of the golf that you experienced when you were down here? Because some of that you would have seen before, I'd imagine, a long time ago, but not some of the courses, because some of them are new. What did you think?
I love it. I think the older courses are still my favorite. I think some of the newer designers, they go a little crazy on the greens, but like you go and play a Metropolitan and you're just like, you know what, I could play here every day,
Yeah.
or I think that was actually my favorite golf course, and it's the thing is I like playing golf in Melbourne is when you stand 170 yards away and you hit the green and it's almost like you feel it in your feet.
Yeah,
You got that thud on the green. It's like it's crazy.
It's different. And what about you went down to King Island? You made it to King Island and Barnbougle, did you not?
Yeah, Barnbougle, yeah. We didn't go to King Island. I think it was something, we had to cut that trip short there.
Yeah,
but, Barnbougle is an interesting golf course. I feel like, there's some good holes there. You start seeing the same thing over and over again. I mean, it's a good design.
Yeah.
I mean, I love sort of playing that sort of golf. Something about playing these courses that have been around 100 years. I don't know what it is. It's like, and I'm sure and also golf courses that have big tournaments on them, I think that's what's interesting in playing as well. So, there's a lot of history there.
Well, you played at Royal and like the President's Cup was here last year, and it was just a massive boon for golf in Australia. And a number of the players, including Tiger, came out and said, "We love playing this type of golf. This is what golf for us, really should be more of." And we were very buoyed as Australians by that. And you're not going to hear any argument from us down here to think that golf should be a little bit firmer and faster and all of that. And once again, another rabbit hole that we could jump down and pick your brain on that, but we've run out of time. Well, it was great to see you down here, and I'm glad you enjoyed your time. What's day-to-day life like for you now? Like, you're in LA now, but is LA home now? Or I get the sense that LA is not home.
No, yeah. Yeah, Scottsdale is home, but it's become, LA's become, I come out here maybe, a week a month or 10 days a month to see clients. This year it's been weird because normally I'm in New York during the summer, and I was just in Michigan last week for 10 days. I mean, it's, with this COVID thing going on, the difference between, things are still moving in the US. I know there's a lot of shutdowns in Australia, but so you're sort of dodging getting COVID and traveling and doing your part,
Yeah.
And it's becoming pretty crazy. But, I just don't know, who knows what's going to be, what's going to happen here.
Look, and we can only look at it positively and think that, that at some point it will change and we'll get back to, to use it.
Yeah, and it will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I've had plenty of people now that have had it, plenty of friends that have had it.
Yeah, right.
And, some people are, they get a couple of days sick, some people not even feeling it. So, it's like, and then other people die.
Yeah.
But so you just don't know. But I think the game of golf, I'm amazed that they're out here playing. And I think that at least we're outside. That's the only blessing.
Yeah. So coaching at Sherwood, is that right?
Yeah. So Sherwood is a really nice club. And, and then I run around LA too. I go to LACC, Lakeside, see some clients there as well. So it's a little, I look at it, as long as I get my workout in the morning,
and
a little bit of practice during the day, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
But that's the most important part for me.
You bumped into my guy Eric Anders Lang last year.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you give Eric a few tips?
Yeah, I gave him a couple of pointers. I think he's seen everyone, so he's probably he'll get something. He's playing a lot of golf, so he's going to get better.
He is. Well, he's got a good swing. He's got a good action. Who are the coaches? Before we wrap up, mate, I appreciate your time a lot. Who are the coaches that you sort of look up to and look towards, and like their sort of concept? I see you speak to George G a bit.
So and Jeff Smith, I had a lesson. So I go around and have lessons from guys, and I like it because obviously I'm getting ready to play a little bit more, but I want to kind of understand that Gankers has got a lot. I think he gets misunderstood a little bit because it's so radical, the moves. I think he could actually teach regular moves as well. Jeff Smith is an interesting coach. A lot more guys like getting deeper and rotating through. And I mean, I'm a little less of that in my swing. But, I think you've got a new wave of young teachers. And I think the thing is what they've got to deal with is understanding the game a little bit more, maybe than just the technical part of it, because as you know, in the end, you're standing out on the fairway. There's a lot of factors, everything from pressure to wind to firmness of greens and there's a lot of sensory that needs to be engaged. And I think some of these young kids are missing out on that because they're looking at a TrackMan and look at numbers the whole time instead of understanding that your body makes so many minor adjustments all the time as you're playing. And I think you see some of the better players, they use the equipment and TrackMan and stuff for what they need for a few minutes. They're not checking it 24/7,
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of factors that come in there.
So you mentioned low and deep there. It's obviously a thing, but do you think that that's a concept that will just stay with us and you'll see more people go to that sort of low, deep and real heavy rotation type movement, or it's just someone's thing and if you sort of go towards that, that's what you'll go towards? Or because it just seems to be two sort of school, almost like two schools. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I feel like I've always felt like, you're rotating against the ground and these guys are, they're obviously, that's why they have to get the club so deep because as much as they rotate, it's the only way they can go, So, but, there's different ways of getting it done. And I think it's got to be a little up to the player too. Like I could not rotate as much as they're trying to do. I mean, it just doesn't work for me. I need to be a little bit more lateral that's just the way I play. I'm a more upper body player,
Yep.
And I think you got to just find your concepts and find your feels and obviously eliminate one side of the golf course, whatever that takes. And then, really it comes down to really, can you hit a long straight drive and can you chip and putt good? If you've got those three things, as much as people practice, you're going to hit good iron shots as well, So that's really what it comes down to is those long straight drives, chip and putt. You're going to make money playing golf.
Yes, yeah, I agree. And I'm not qualified to give any swing advice, but I can do one of those three disciplines. And when I do give some advice to the people that I get to deal with on a fairly frequent basis in terms of selling them golf equipment and helping them make the right decisions around that, and they talk about their practice, I do always say 100 yards in, just practice that. Not just practice that, but, put your focus on there. Don't go to the range.
Yeah.
Don't go to the range and belt through 150 balls with a driver. Find somewhere where you can go and work on that 100 in. And
no, exactly.
Take it from my my experience, but because that's what keeps me as a 4 handicapper, not being able to get that those other two disciplines inside that 100 working as well. As you know, because that's one of the things that keeps me chatting to you. Trying to work on that short game, man.
No, exactly. And I think it's and developing, and it's all hours. You get a decent technique going, then it's better practicing. And even at my level, if I don't practice it all the time, it's not going to be that great. It just takes hours of practice.
You've got to put the reps in, eh?
Yeah, that's what it is. And but some people like that, some people don't like it. It's one of those things. I mean, I feel like I could go out and hit chips for 4 hours and be quite happy. Some other people get bored after 30 minutes. So it's like, and I think I used to practice in fear, I mean, half the time, you're practicing like crazy because you don't want to fail. That was one of the things too.
Just in closing, Tanya Tare, how good is she?
Yeah, she's pretty crazy.
I don't know how often you get to hang out with Tanya Tare. Do you get blown away by watching a girl with that amount of talent and the things that she can do?
Yeah, but you know what? She practices like crazy.
Yeah.
She really works hard at it, what she does, but she's got some crazy moves that she works hard at it. But I do hang out with her quite a bit.
Very good, mate. Very good. Well, I really do appreciate all of your insights, catching up about some old times between you and I, your concepts on coaching, especially that the value and your thoughts around the kids. I think that's a really important part and a legacy that that you can leave. And if anyone's listening to this, you know, if it gives someone a little bit of an insight into how to deal with a young developing golfer, you know, there you've heard it from one of the best. It's been great to catch up with you. We could chat for a bit more, but I
really appreciate you even having me on and thinking about me. And, you know, I wish you all the best. And now, sorry I couldn't connect with you last time I was down there. I was on such a crazy schedule that I was hurting around a lot of people.
I can see that. I got that sense. That was very clear. And it looked, as much as a great time you looked like you were having, it looked like you had your hands full with a lot of people.
Exactly. All right. Thank you again.
Gabriel HJERTSTEDT, great to catch up with you. Thank you, sir.
Bye.